Good afternoon. I came alone, so I thought I'll start first with a picture of Bosch and Siemens. I work already together with Siemens since 1985, and we are Dutch artists, and we moved to Spain about 20 years ago. This picture is quite significant because our work is very much related to physics and also to experience we found in our lives. And so we have often a kind of simple starting point, or a starting point, let's put it that way, and an end product, which is the artwork. And especially this, well, you see the waves. This was the starting point of one of our works. We work very much with vibration and resonance, so our work is it's maybe a bit of an exception because I noticed many have here a biological background. We don't have a scientific background, but we have been working in several projects together with a university in Holland, the University of Enschede in the east of Holland, but we always have been working with mechanical engineers, so we are very much related to physics, to technique, not so much in this very tiny world, biology. Well, I think I'll go a bit through our work and then show a movie of some of our works, a short movie, and a bit of the workshop I'm doing now here with Sergei Kostirko, who will do the very last talk of today. I think that will be maybe then already 6:30 or 7. So stay until the end. Well, I made a selection of works that all use vibration motors, as I think so, because we made quite a large series from about 1990 to almost until present, all based on vibration motors which vibrate and hitting resonant frequencies of a certain construction which comes to life. Let's see. Well, I told already a lot. This is a kind of very short statement I always use in talks. For us, it's very important to create a complex system and then write software for it, but although we often exhibit in electronic art or computer or music events, the software, I think, what it does is to show the most interesting behavior or most beautiful, that's very subjective, of this work. I think it's all written here. I don't know if you had time to read it. What is also very important, we work a lot within the context of computer music, contemporary music, but we always show also a construction, and this kind of direct connection between what you see and what you hear is very important, and also to transmit a kind of energy. There's usually no interactivity at all, but it's more a kind of immersive work. We hope that the public gets something from the work and gets a kind of connection with the work without really interfering with the work directly. So this is a typical vibration motor. It's a symmetrical motor with two axes and an unbalanced weights, and the only thing you can do if you want to have more or less power is open it and then put, well, it's clear not, where is the button? Here, yeah. You can put those in phase or counter phase, and so you can really mechanically organize its power, but once closed, the only thing you can do is change frequencies. And that's much more important even than the power of it, because if you hit a certain resonant frequency exactly, flexible constructions will start to move. And that's something typical of our vibration works or our music machines. All of them, they are very flexible. They are usually mounted on springs. And you can imagine that physically this is a very complex construction, because each box has resonant frequencies like translations, rotations, and disrotation. And also, for instance, a pile of boxes is one unity, and the whole thing is one unity. And they're interconnected with springs, And this work, which is actually our most known work because it won a prize, a Golden Nika at Ars Electronica in '98, in computer music. Well, here are the motors, which is completely subjective. You could have in every column a motor, or even 4 or 5, or in every one. But it's really more than enough to have all kind of behavior. For instance, if this motor has a certain resonance frequency of this box will start to move, and its neighbor hardly. So you can imagine if you have 14 motors, and if you can control them separately, that you have an enormous, powerful construction.
Do you have springs horizontally or just vertically?
No, there are also, you can't see them here, but here they are connected horizontally, here they are not. You just have to find a kind of compromise, because enough flexibility that it does interesting things, but it must be also stiff enough not to fall down. So there are, here there are, and there. Okay, well, and any questions in between? Welcome. I just show some pictures of, well, this is the same work. This was in an old church in Straalsund, so not so far away from here. I think it's good to show several pictures also of the same work, because it's, of course, it does something also with the space in the architecture, also with the acoustical properties of the space. Later on, here just a little graph to show you how important it is to analyze the construction. What you see here is, this is then rotation of a motor, and here you see how much something moves in millimeters, I think. And you see that in about maybe 95% of a frequency range, nothing happens. So what our programs do in these works is we first analyze where are the interesting hotspots. Otherwise, if you would do it completely randomly, nothing would happen, or almost nothing. And then we make a kind of phrases with a start frequency and end frequency, and combinations of motors. And in this work, the computer chooses randomly between phrases, almost randomly. And there is a kind of probability for more. We have a kind of 3 groups: more exciting behavior, very quiet, and very rough. And he chooses each time between those groups. And well, this is just to show you about that there are things that you have to analyze, and you also have to make the springs. For each work, we make other people calculate about stiffness of springs, etc. Sometimes people ask you, where did you find those springs? But all has to be very well controlled to get to later on to chaotic behavior. Well, as you can see, that work with the wooden crates, which is called Krachtgever, which means Kraftgeber, not Krachtmacher. Sometimes people think it means that. It's very heavy work, it's very loud, and it's about 2,000 kilos. So our next step was to make a kind of portable work with cardboard boxes that can be transported completely flat. And there are some things inside to make them strong enough. We did this very few times, because it turned out that each time building the work was much less practical than already prefab work. And this was another thing. This was in Hong Kong, and it was so humid that after a few days the boxes became also very weak. And another thing is, you can see we have one more dimension, which means that it looks good, but you need an enormous amount of boxes to really get to big volumes. So this is, I think, the biggest version of this series. We made several. But what was very good of this, that it became a kind of study for another work. This is a work which is in the wood in Belgium. In the east of Belgium, near Pelt, there is a sound art park or wood with many outdoor works. And here we went back to wooden boxes, but the whole research of the form comes directly from the cardboard boxes versions. Well, all these works you saw now were really the same concept of boxes and springs. What I didn't tell is that in the boxes there is material that makes sound, something that we also use now in the robots that we made with children here in the workshops. So some of the boxes have glass, others have beer tops, maybe in English, at least in German, and others have, well, we have glass, wood, PET bottles sound very good, but also little stones. So that's why it's a sound artwork, after all. It's not the boxes or the springs that make sound, but the objects in the boxes. Well, you can make many different works working with vibration motors and objects that sound. This work is of 2001, and it started with a commission by an ensemble. So it was combined in its first appearance with a score and musicians and the work. Later on, we extended the work and we didn't perform with performers anymore. Let's see, next picture, you see maybe more. So here we have a kind of spring mattresses without all the stuff around it and bottles in it. And the motor we put here vertically, you can hear, instead of horizontally, vertically, because it turned out if it would be horizontally, it would move too much, and it was much more interesting to excite more horizontal movement of the bed. And it sounds completely different because you have only glass sounds, and in closed spaces you get all kind of stable frequencies like voices, and at the same time quite heavy sounds with attacks. Using the same technique, you can get to very different results. This was in an interesting building by the architect Tschumi in Groningen. They made a lot of pavilions for an exhibition, I think in the 90s somewhere. But all those pavilions, they disappeared, and this is the only one that's left, and it's still used for on-location installations. This was, I think, in 2001. Well, also here you can see that space and circumstances can give a completely different atmosphere visually as well to the work. This is in a museum with all kind of very tiny spots. Now we get back to the first picture. Here this works, which is called Aguas Vivas, living waters, started in this typical Spanish washing place, and at certain hours in the morning when the sun is not too high, or certain hours between 9 and 10 more or less, you get beautiful reflections of the waves of the water projected on these projection screens. And this always is different because it's spring water, and some days or some minutes or seconds even there's more water coming in and water coming out. And so we thought we are now going to make a work not only with sonic component but also a visual component made by vibration. And from this we got to this. This is a relatively simple construction. This is a metal box on springs and a vibration motor below it. And usually we use burnt oil of cars because it's very black but also very reflective, and also its viscosity is very important. If it's too thick, we add a bit of diesel. That's science, no? So what we do, we have a lamp that we put above the work and a video camera, and the video camera captures the reflections, and we project it on a wall live, but we also present stills of each 6 seconds because there are so many things happening that you don't see in a moving image. So we have 2 projections, and we also have contact microphones on the work and some electronics, and so we also produce a live soundtrack. It's a kind of abstract film machine. Here you see, so I think at the left is probably the still, and at the right is the film. This is an image that we used most of the time, because it is very nice when a wave moves that it's still recognizable, and it also brings up a lot of thoughts, like start of a movie or how you call that for in warfare, you see target. You often see these kind of targets on television when there are wars, and then you see that they exactly hit what Americans or Russians or whoever wanted to hit. So it's a strong image, and well, here what's also nice that if you move the box a lot, you get bubbles, as you can see here. And here, for instance, here you see very well the structure of the waves, but also you see this target coming back in several places. Here, this I think has to do a lot with organisms, biology. I think physics is the start of all. Well, we will talk about that later. But with physics, you can get this kind of very organic images. Well, after all, it's all the same source, but I'm not going into religion. Well, this was also a very funny theoretical work. Here we vibrate or move actually a construction with a pitchfork mounted on it, and those pitchforks, they scratch on glass. And often we try to find, at least we always try to find a new musical language, but also often extremes. And these pitchforks, they produce very, usually as unpleasant, percepted, is that English? Sounds, but it's its own language, and you can discuss about it if it's music or not, or nice, or just fun. I'll put on a video, I think, almost now. Well, this I wanted just to show rapidly, because here we move a bit out of the original vibration projects. It's with springs, but the springs are not used because of their flexibility, but they are more or less the heroines of the work. Here we hit very long springs, and you can really, what is nice about it, that you can really make moving sound visible. Actually, this is not what you hear, but the sound is packed in this wave, and it moves from one resonant body to another. So you see the sound traveling in space, which is quite unusual. I show a few pictures of this work, and then I put on movie, I think. And first, a few pictures also of the workshop I am doing these days. So this work is also very nice outside. This was somewhere in Mexico. And here you have 6 parallel lines, so you can really program a kind of choreography for the springs. I thought of this also yesterday at the presentation of the work with the body and springs, so I thought I should show this too, that there are more people who work with long springs. I found, and we also did once this work with dancers who manipulated the springs by pulling them and etc. Okay, so far the works, and now a bit of the workshop. Here a young guy and Sergei. So we made yesterday and today and tomorrow probably again, we make a kind of robots, very simple robots who move in a very uncontrollable way with vibration motors. And this is a work in progress. Later on in the video you can see it a bit further developed. And this is another one which can dance much more because it's mounted on springs, while if you mount it on a chair, it's very stiff, but it can walk nicely through space. And, well, the first day they really got crazy, but today it went much better, actually, because they got so wild, the kids, of all these new things. Okay, just a bit of propaganda. If you want to know more, this is our website, and you can also find the email there. Time enough to see it? Then we go to the movie. Where is the movie? Here. Hey, there. So this was at a retrospective, and there were several works shown. I'll skip the first because it's not a vibration. So here you will see a bit of most of the works I talked about.
Oops.
It's okay, I think. Yeah. Ah, better even.
Smells wet.
Okay. I'll skip a bit and then a bit of the workshop. Again. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So, shall I just do just 1 minute of the workshop?
Yeah, sure, please.
And then, I don't know, what's about the time? Well, it's not too bad. Okay, I just wanted to show a bit that you can also do the things to have a lot of fun. So, better with something else, no? Sorry. Well, okay.